Good morning. We're going to wait 2 minutes or so to let others join, but welcome to the webinar and got a lot to cover today, so I appreciate everybody's time. Well, thank you everybody for joining. My name is Walter Petrus with NetWoven. Today we're having our fourth webinar on Microsoft Fabric. We appreciate everybody's time, and let's go to the agenda and we'll kick this off. Next slide, please. There we go. At a high level, we'll do a quick introductions of the team. We're fortunate to have many great experts on the call today. And then we're going to jump in to talk a little bit about data mesh and how we see using Fabric as a way of publishing your data as a product. Again, hopefully many of you know this is going to be more of a hands-on demo presentation today. So we've got two different demos set up, one of which is going to cover how to create data domains, and again, how to use Fabric as when publishing data as a product. Second part of the presentation today will be about data observability, governance, and security. Again, I think we broached this subject in the last few webinars, but we wanted to cover a little bit more about how to do that in Fabric, and so we'll go into a demo showing you, again, how we use that for alerting and other things for observability. Finally, we'll cover a little bit about the exciting news. Obviously, Fabric went to GA on the 15th of November, so we're excited to show you some of the updates and some of the last minute features we're adding and just give you an overview of licensing. And we'll close here with about 10-15 minutes or so with an expert Q&A panel. Go to the next slide. Just a little bit about NetWoven. You know, we're fortunate to have been working with many large companies over the last 22 years. Our main focus is trying to take a lot of the exciting technology that Microsoft has developed, as well as some of our other partners, and be able to kind of build solutions for business users. We are fortunate to have been certified in all 6 of the Microsoft solution areas. We're part of MISA, we're a member of the MISA group, and we've gotten recognized by different organizations. So appreciate you guys taking the time. Next slide. As I mentioned, you know, we have 6 different areas. We're one of the few companies that are certified in all of Microsoft's solution areas. And today we're going to really focus on a lot on the data analytics, but I manage the modern apps and the data analytics team. And as I talked about, we'll talk about governance and also a lot of the features we find in Microsoft Fabric. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we're very fortunate to have some of our architects and engineering team joining here from NetWoven, but can't thank enough the participants from Microsoft who have been close partners with us through this journey with Fabric. Ramesh, Divya, and Chandra, I really appreciate you guys' time and joining here for answering some of the key questions. So with that, I'm going to transition to Pankaj, who leads our engineering and helping us on this journey. Pankaj?
Thank you, Walt. Hello, everyone. In today's session, we're going to talk about data mesh and one of its core principles, data as product. And we'll also look into how Microsoft Fabric has different capabilities that enterprise can leverage to implement data mesh for their business. Now, let's start with an introduction of the term data mesh. It is considered as a paradigm shift from centralized data management. It's not only technology, but changes in the culture as well, how we look at the data. For ages, data is managed centrally for an organizations, and business data users like business data producer and consumers typically used to look at this data team for producing good quality data and delivering on time. And that used to create a huge bottleneck on this team. And business finally used to suffer while they're trying to scale. And data mesh is to get away from this bottleneck altogether. by introducing the concept of data democratizations. So simply speaking, it is empowering the business people that with their data, because they are the owner of the data and they know their data best. So empower them with the tools and skills to manage the data that they know best. And when they are ready, share the data internally and externally as a product, and we'll go into the more details in this particular concept of the data mesh in today's sessions. And domain people should be supported by self-service platform so that they don't have to go back to the central data team every now and then. Now, there could be multiple domains managing their own data. So we need to have a federated governance to ensure adherence to the enterprise benchmark for data quality, security, and sharing policies, and so on. Now, let's get a little bit familiar with the logical architecture of the data mesh as uh, conceptualized by Zamak Dagnani. So fundamentally, there are three major blocks: data platform, operational planes, and federated governance. And the domains are part of the operational planes. And they are supposed to act on the data and produce the insight on their activities. Okay, data products is considered as a package deliverable from the domains, and it's not only the data but it's code as well as the associated infrastructure, so that the consumers get the best value out of that data. Okay, now coming to the platform. So platform is there to support domains in creating data products. Now, support in terms of infrastructure, defining the best practices. It could be like supervisions and so on. And federated governance is there to provide centralized policy definition, ensuring decentralized policy enforcement, defining policy as code, and defining standards for data products like schema and metadata. Now, let's understand a little bit more what is data as a product. So it's a mindset, how data should be treated. I think you will all will agree with me that data is no longer considered as byproduct of business activities, but it is what drives the business today. So data mesh recognize this and include this as one of its core principles. Now treat data more like a product than an asset. If you have an asset, we'd all like to be over possessive about our assets, and in that process fail to make the optimal use of that asset. But if you have a product, you will try to ensure that your product serves its intended purpose to its customer. Now, to be considered as product, your data should have few product characteristics, such as like discoverable. So user should know that the product exists in the first place. It should be understandable. They should know what it is and how to use it. It should be addressable, so they know where to go to access this. Trustworthy. They should know that it is safe to use. Interoperable, so that they can take this data product and they can probably mingle with few other data to make it valuable for them. It should be secured and it should be valuable on its own. Now, let us understand how Microsoft Fabric can help implement this concept. Now, Microsoft Fabric, simply speaking, a unified data analytics platform, one product, one experience, one architecture, and one business model. Now, one lake is the SaaS data lake, and this is the only one lake for the tenant. So when the Fabric is deployed for the tenant, this one lake gets provisioned. And one lake workspace is the storage for all Fabric workloads. So data in one lake is automatically indexed. Now, data is stored inside the one lake in the open data format, which is Delta Parquet. And once the data is stored in the lake, it is directly accessible by all the Fabric computes, whether it's a Spark, whether it's DSQL, KQL, and so on, all have access to the same data at the same time. So you never have to import and export data to execute different computes. Now, unified governance, security, and compliance is built in for your data within the Fabric, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, let us understand how Microsoft Fabric can help you serve your data as product. So Fabric lets you create the domains, and domains are kind of the logical enclosure, which can be mapped to your business unit. It can be mapped to your functional groups, such as sales, finance, and so on. And domains have security, so we may restrict their access to specific security groups. And within domains, you have the workspaces. And these workspaces have everything that you need to create your data products. So start with it has the lakehouse, which saves all kind of data in the Parquet format. And on top of it, you have that Delta Lake metadata management layer that allows to access your data, any kind of data through SQL endpoints. And to ingest data into the lakehouse, you have data pipelines and you have hundreds of connectors for this available at this point of time. And so that you don't have a problem with connecting any of the data sources that you can think of today. And additionally, you also have the facility of shortcuts. The shortcuts are kind of data virtualization. So without really copying the data into the lakehouse, you can perform the actions, all kind of actions on them. And right now, the shortcuts are available for AWS S3 buckets, Azure Blob Storage, and you can also have shortcuts for the other lakehouse within the fabric. And shortcuts for Google Cloud is coming soon. And now once you have the data inside your lakehouse, you can process the data. You can run your transformations through the notebook. And in the notebook, you can use your favorite language like Python and R to process your data. And notebooks run top of Spark pools. That gives you the excellent processing performance. Okay, so now once the data is processed and it is ready, you are possibly ready to share the data with people outside your domains. And to do that, you can promote your data sets and you can promote at different levels. You can promote at the lakehouse, you can promote at the SQL endpoints, or you can promote at the data set or semantic model level. And once they are promoted, they will get listed in the data catalog available through OneLake Data Hub, as well as they'll be listed in Fabric Purview dashboard. Now, let us understand a little bit internals of the Fabric, how to process the data. Okay, Fabric provides the perfect infrastructure to craft and share multiple data products from a single data set. Okay, we can implement medallion architecture of data processing inside a domain with the help of workspace. And workspaces can be clustered as bronze, silver, and gold, but the data is progressively cleansed, enriched, and aggregated. And data set from each workspace can be shared as a data product. And the data can be accessed through several endpoints like Workspace app, SQL endpoint, Power BI data source, and also OneLake API and SDK, which you can use to programmatically access your data from your application. Now, having said that, we will quickly reach our demo stage. And for demo, I'd like to invite Alok Kumar Gupta, the Senior Technical Architect. Before I hand it over to Alok, let me introduce that demo scenario. So this is the story about a sales team of an organization. So they have the historical data of sales, and the data set has daily sales metrics for different product types from multiple countries. They also have its historical global weather data that has different weather parameters per day for different cities across the world. And they would like to create a consolidated data set that possibly establishes the impact of or correlations of weather conditions on sales numbers. And they have two prospective consumers for their data set. One is the data analyst and data scientist who would be interested in detailed data, cleansed but detailed data for their modeling purpose. And they also have the business executives who would be looking for more summarized aggregated data for quick business reporting. Now, with that, we'll jump over to the demo. So before I hand over to Alok for detailed demo, I'd like to take you through the domain creation process of Fabric. So this is what the Fabric tenant deployed in our NetAven tenant. So we are at the OneLake Data Hub, which is probably the home of Fabric for all practical purpose. And here you can see like there are different domains available that are created in this tenant. Okay, so domain creation process is simple enough, but you need to have the Fabric administrator privilege to get to this admin portal where you have the domains menu options available. And once you get to the domains, you get to create the new domains from here. Okay, it's very simple enough. You create the domains by putting a name, and once you create the domain, you get to put some additional settings on the domains, like you can add an image to it, to quickly recognize that. You can have additional admins, you can have additional contributors, you can even have people for whom this will be the default domains. And once you do that, your domains are created. And so in this case, for the lack of time, I'm not actually going to create the domains, but I'll show you what it takes. And once you have the domains, your next task is to create a workspace within the domain, and which is basically the you can see the parent container for any of the data product. So you create the data a workspace within domain using this workspace menu over here. And you can provide a name, and you can, most importantly, you can associate this domain with workspace with the domains that you just created. So once you create the workspace, then your next thing is that within the workspace you create lakehouse. Okay, and the way to create a lakehouse is again pretty simple. So you go there and you have the options to create several artifacts. Lakehouse is one of them. So you go ahead and create using that option. And when you create a lakehouse, you'll just go ahead and create one lakehouse, but you'll see that there are two other artifacts already get created. So these are SQL endpoint and semantic model, default of them. That gets also get created. Now, so this lakehouse where you ingest the data. Now, at this point of time, I would like to hand it over to Alok for taking through the further stages of this demo. Alok?
Yeah, thanks, Pankaj. Welcome, everyone. Let me start sharing my screen.
While you're doing that, just encourage people, if there's any questions, we'll do our best to answer them during Q&A. So please use the Q&A to create to submit those questions. Thanks.
Thanks,
Back
Walt.
to you, Alok. Yeah.
So today we are going to walk through a data analytics journey of a sales team, starting from gathering of data to publishing data products using Microsoft Fabric. We start at One Lake Data Hub and filter data artifacts on sales. On filtering, we see three stages of data processing organized as three workspaces: bronze, silver, and gold, as directed by Medallion architecture. Next, we take a look at bronze workspace, which stores raw data gathered from different sources. This data is a starting point for all data processing, as well as this can also act as historical information. Looking at, in this case, data is data is received as CSV and Parquet files and stored under file section of the lakehouse. By this time, this data has already been loaded as delta tables in the lakehouse using link to tables, load to tables functionality of the lakehouse. Okay. As we proceed, we see that these tables have triangle against their names, which indicate that these are delta tables. And data in these delta tables are stored as Parquet file inside lakehouse itself. And it is managed by Delta table engine by using metadata stored as JSON files in Delta log folder. This facilitates ACID transactions on Delta tables as well as very fast analytics queries on Delta tables. To talk about data that we are working with, we have two Delta tables for sales and weather. Sales table has a country, date, and sales attributes. Similarly, weather table has has city name, date, and weather statistics. At this point, let us try to understand the challenges faced by sales team. They want to correlate sales data with weather data. However, with just focus on North America, US, and Canada specifically, data granularity of sales is country and date, whereas for weather it is city name and date. So we cannot combine those two data to right away. So we have to do something to merge them together or correlate them together. At this point, with understanding of raw data and challenges, let us move to this silver workspace. This workspace has more data artifacts as this is the primary workhorse in this particular solution. Looking at data lakehouse, we see that there are 5 tables. If we zoom in, we see that 2 of the tables, daily weather and sales records, have a link in their icon, which represent a shortcut. Shortcut is virtualization of data stored somewhere else, made available to this workspace for with the same capabilities as local data tables. This is a very useful feature from Fabric, and it prevents duplication of data across workspaces. In this case, these shortcuts are linked to data stored in Bronze workspaces. With access to Bronze data, and we now proceed to cleanse the data. For that, we would use notebooks. This notebook extracts subset of data from sales and weather data and stores them as local data tables in Silver workspace. The first section filters weather data on Atlanta and Toronto City and stores the data incrementally in daily weather USCN data table, whereas the second section filters sales records on United States and Canada and similarly incrementally stores data in US-Canada sales record local data table. Now with this, now we focus on our second challenge, which is to map city names in weather with country names. Here we see that we have just the city name. We do not have country name here. For this, we will use second notebook. This notebook addresses this challenge by querying a third-party geocoding service, OpenCage, and fetching country name for respective city and storing them as additional column in the data frame, and then saving the data frame as a new delta table, daily country weather. When we look at this table, we see that along with city name, we also see the country name is there in this table. Now this delta table becomes our primary weather table. Now, apart from this, we have one more challenge here. In sales record, order date is stored as text field. Now, with this, that prevents us from joining sales records with weather as date in weather is a date type field. For this, to resolve this issue, we would use views, SQL views, to transform data type for this column. To do this, we would switch over to SQL Analytics endpoint, and this one, and this is what it allows us to query same data stored in Lakehouse data tables using SQL statements. This is a very powerful feature from Microsoft Fabric, as mentioned by Pankaj earlier. Here we have created a sales view that uses SQL statements to transform data from one type to another type. When we run this view, we see that we have column, we have DT order date column as date type here. Okay. Now, with this, we have built on the same approach, and we have now created a combined view using sales and weather data by joining them on country and date field. Okay. Now, with this, we have been able to cleanse, enrich, and denormalize the data, and data is now ready to be shared with analysts for doing exploratory analysis. Now, in order to share the data, at first we would use SQL Server endpoint, which can act as a SQL Server for tools of our choice like SQL Server Management Studio and Azure Data Studio, along with reporting tools like Power BI. For doing that, we will go to Workspace and we will copy connection string from SQL Analytics endpoint, and then go to SQL Server. We connect with this connection string, and once we connect, we see that all tables and views are available to us for querying. Coming back to this, we can also create semantic models on the data in Lakehouse by selecting appropriate tables and views. Okay. This was earlier known as dataset, and some of the prompts on user interface still talk about dataset. Okay. Now, once this semantic model is created, this semantic model allows the analysts to create custom reports using data exposed in this semantic model. or we can also let Microsoft Fabric create reports or auto reports for us using the data in this model. Process is usually fast, taking a few seconds. And once it is created, we can add or remove data points to further refine the table and as well as visuals. Okay. Now, once we have our data products ready, we can share these data products with rest of the organization. One way to do that is to prompt to promote these data products by endorsing these data products. In order to do that, we'll go to data workspace and then select Lakehouse, go to settings, and under endorsement, we can select the kind of endorsement, whether it's promoted or it is certified. We can do same with SQL Server Analytics endpoint as well as semantic model. In case of semantic model, apart from endorsing, we also get to have Power BI dataset link that we can copy and use with Power BI desktop as well as Power BI app service to access data stored in the semantic model using direct lake queries. Once we have promoted all the or data products that we want, we can go back to our One Lake Data Hub and filter on our sales domain. And here under endorse section, we see that our Lakehouse and semantic model is now available. It has been promoted. It is promoted across organization by us. Okay. Now, by this point, we have data products which are suitable for use by professionals like data engineers, data scientists, and data analysts. However, business users and executives are interested in more summarized data, which they need for quick decision making. Now we will take a step. We'll take steps to summarize this data for business users. For that, we would move our denormalized data from silver workspace to gold workspace. For the using data flow gen 2, here we are exposing sales weather data into Lakehouse, and we have selected a new delta table, delta sales weather detail in one of the Lakehouse in gold workspace. We can see this table here. We can see this table here with the data that has been pushed from the silver workspace. And at this point, it's worth noting that all the notebooks as well as data flow gen 2, those can be executed on a schedule, or we can trigger it as part of a data pipeline to ensure that fresh data is available at every stage in data processing pipeline. Okay. Now, once we have weather data pushed into gold workspace, we would use a notebook to summarize the data. This notebook summarizes the data, aggregates the data on country, sales channel, item type, and date, and stores the summarized data in a new delta table, delta sales weather aggregate. Okay. Now, once this aggregate data is available, we can publish this final data products as semantic model. Semantic model by choosing aggregate table. And exposing it as a semantic model. Okay. Once this semantic model is created and shared with business, they can create their own reports using this semantic model. As a final step in this demo, we will now expose finished data products using apps. So we can create an app in Gold Workspace by selecting reports that we want to share with our business users, by selecting audience who should have access to this report, these reports, and then publishing this app. Once this app is published, we receive an URL which can be shared by shared with business users and targeted audience, where they can access all the reports directly. Okay. With this, we have come to the end of demo. Thank you, everyone. I will now hand over to Pankaj.
Thanks, Alok.
Thank you all. It's a wonderful demo. I know it's a lot to cover in a very short span of time, but I hope that you got the gist of it, like how we can take one or more data sets and process it through the Microsoft Fabric in different stages and publish them as a data product as from bronze, from gold, and whatnot. Okay, so with that, I would hand over to Nana for taking us to our next set of our next section. Nana.
Bring the slides.
Nana?
Thank you, Pankaj. Show the slides.
Yeah, 1 second. One second, sorry for this.
Okay. Hey, all of you, good morning. My name is Jnana Duburi. I work as a senior technical architect for data analytics. And you know, previous webinars I was there. The confusion part of, we talk about data mesh, we talk about data fabrics, and we are also having data fabric, not only Microsoft Fabric. What does it mean to us? What is happening, previously I worked for the companies, where they use data mesh and data fabric, but to integrate with them is highly difficult, and a lot of problems, in the communication process. That's where what we saw in Microsoft Fabric, and it is not a data fabric, but it contains some of the characteristics of data fabric, but it also, because of domains and subdomains we create, the way we propagate the data, so that both the data mesh and data fabric can be integrated with it without effortless, and giving we'll look into that how we do that. Security and all, but what we want to emphasize on is a critical note that data mesh and data fabric is not mutually exclusive concepts. Organizations can leverage both approaches across different use cases. Microsoft Fabric in one lake hub with the help of domains and subdomains. Data mesh is more about people and process than architecture, while a data fabric is an architectural approach that tackles the complexity of the data and metadata in a smart way that works well together. But both can be coexist with Microsoft Fabrics with domains. With our integrated product, which brought it, we thought that is a definite advantage, and we want to bring it to all the audience. This next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Now we talk about data mesh, we talk about data fabric, how a data product is published. We have seen the demo. The one other important point is we prepare the data, and a lot of people ask, what is the preparation of data? Preparation of data contains data governance as well as data observability, and this is the concept. It's gaining a lot of importance because of digitalization of the companies. It became evident. It is priority right now for each and whether the company are small or big. What is this data observability? Data observability is the ability of organizations to board the visibility data, with all arenas like data pipelines, data infrastructure, and data applications. What exactly happening to data? Anything is happening wrong, though proactively we'll tell, so that there is no problem in the data pipelines and the data quality. It got almost 5 pillars. One is the freshness, process to keep data uploaded, refresh, cadence. What type of times we do. Is it a real time or a batch once a day? We'll look into that refreshness, whether it's going well or not. And distribution data reliability assessment, what exactly, where it is going to, what distribution it is making it, whether it is correct or not. Then volume competence, completeness of your data. Hey, today I got, every day I used to get, 2 million rows. Today I got 20,000. Why? What is the reasons? We look into that, those. And then schema changes are one of the fundamental breakdown of data quality. And data observability will takes care of documenting the organizations of your data very well. It takes care of this. Okay, lineage. The lineage data provides end-to-end process. There is a data source to your lake, and a lake to your Power BI, how the data goes, and if anybody accessing data, who is accessing data, and these are the things secure and compliance. It will give the lineage by data observability. Why exactly for this data observability means better quality. Better quality with data observability is boost data reliability, optimize data operations, better control over cloud data, and excellent data products it gives you. Okay, why it matters? Improves data accuracy and a timely delivery of data, addresses data concerns in the early stages, prevent data downtime, effective cost optimization. These are the things we talk because of benefits of the data observability. Next slide. Then the question comes Jnana, we have data governance, you talk about data observability, how these two differs, what is that hand in glove relation for that? If you look into the data governance, it's a process, people, and technology, and an outer ring is quality, knowledge, ownership, and accessibility and security. These are the data governance helps in setting the right data management policies and procedures, and it should be implemented. But whereas data observability comes to enhance, to implement these policies and management policies and procedures, and give a insight what is exactly happening here. So data observability aids the constant monitoring of data to identify, resolve, and prevent issues, thus strengthening the overall data architecture. That means data observability covered by monitoring, data lineage, metadata, and data governance testing. So this is the ability, so that people have a data observability tools. People have data observability paradigm inbuilt into their organizations. They are vastly benefited. Next one. Next slide, please. Okay, when you look into this, data observability is critical given increased complexity. When you look into that overall, whatever the product, whether it's a Databricks or any other product, these are the fundamental core fundamentals. It works data. There's an orchestration, lineage, one place to end, ingest, store, transform, model, and report. But the other thing is added now because of cybersecurity and the digitalization of the companies, that the data governance and security and infrastructure security, that is the complexity is adding into that. So when we look into the statistics, data downtime nearly doubled year over year, and 65% of people sees 62% of response in 2002 our average delay time of detection for data incidents, then 160% increase in the average time to resolution, 15 hours per incident, and more than half of the respondents 25% of more revenue was subjected to quality issues. And absolutely, this is gone from 2020 to 26% to 31% in the impacted revenue. That's a big issue. People think server is down. Oh, we are down. No, data downtimes make much harm to the enterprise organizations. That's where we want to give very important data observability and critical given increase in complexity. So we more concentrate on data observability product. Next slide, please. Okay. When you think of data observability, there are tools available in the market, but they're all we implement in a different way, and we have to configure it. We have to make it, and again, a lot of problems, and we miss some things here. But what Microsoft Fabrics is doing it is integrating observability in Microsoft Fabrics. Data activator helps data exploration. Purview helps to go beyond compliance. It's inbuilt with Microsoft Fabric. You can classify, you can segment it. You can do whatever you want. DLP. Graph data connects with the integrate Microsoft 365 data. Dataverse view in Microsoft Fabric simplifies data reporting. Data Wrangler improves data observability. Power BI and direct link improves performance with semantic links and semantic layer directly to Power BI, and there is a continuous lineage end to end up to BI. What is happening to your data, and because of that, data exploration, and these are data integrated products in Power BI. You have a proactive, things happens so that you can take care of before the problem happens, and it detects the problem, it tells the problem, so that before we publish data, we take care of the problem publish so that you will have a quality data. Next slide, please. So go beyond with compliance within Microsoft Fabric. Here, what I want to do, instead of this one, just I want to show what exactly. Can you see my slide? Can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay, so this is the product available, already available in Microsoft Fabric. If you go here, when you go to Microsoft Fabric in a Purview Hub, and the question may come, why you ask about Purview Hub? Purview Hub means, it's not only one domain, I have a number of domains, I have a number of subdomains, I have a number of lake houses in this, so that all the lake houses, everything comes and do this. And we can show here, this is where start in a data catalog. I can catalog my data, information protection, I can do that, and data loss prevention, we can do that. We can classify the data exactly what happens, basing on the classification. So this is the one we are not going deep into this presentation. This is the way it looks. All my workspaces can be then it will give you, a chart, your Microsoft Fabric items, and it can give. But whereas we have a seminar is coming especially for Purview and security, so they are deep diving into this, these seminars, so that just we want to show you this product is available in Microsoft Fabrics. Yeah, go back. Now, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, let's talk about a little bit of data activator today. And this is the one product, it gives a lot of advantages in Microsoft Fabrics. It's an applied data observability, we call it. So how data activator works, data activator no code triggers to connect your data into actions. So if you have Power BI report or an SQL DW or an event hub or a KSQL, what are the flows are coming insights, it takes it. And it tries no code user experience, interactions, analytics, real time streaming. It's there. We have models, we have rules and triggers. With this, what it does actually, it will give you putting the data activator to use. Let's stick to the examples, what exactly it means. Sales, a alert sales manager, if a particular customer is in areas with their payment. The inventory, check whether the inventory levels for a particular product are sufficient, and notify an operations, manage it. If not, and IT operations automatically monitor data quality metrics and kick off a remedial process if those metrics are below target. And IoT automatically creates an engineering support ticket for a refrigerator or a turbine temperature is too high. So it goes immediately, and you can send that actions to your Outlook. You can send the actions to your teams, or you can do a Power Automate and send the whatever you want to do. You can do that. Otherwise, you can customize. There are many ways you can do that. With this, I will hand over. Next slide, please. Pankaj, next slide. Yeah, I'll introduce Chiranjeev Roy, principal engineer, demo data observability and data activator. He want to show some demo. Before he shows this, I will tell you. I give a brief about what is this demo. Can you next slide, please? We have a medicine delivery services logistics company. They send a lot of medicines, and they have some special care to be taken to the different cities. It's a supply chain like that. Then we talk about properties in this demo: city special care and package IDs, and key events. Package shipped, package in transit, package delivery attempt, package delivered, package returned, and all triggers. we lot of triggers we can be created here. Examples are average overtime aggregation, and the medicine package is too warm. So this is very important. And when people are sending they have to certain the truck should maintain some temperatures, and trucks have IoT sensors. Those sensors will take the data online. That's real time. So these are some of the things we want to do that demo, but we may show one or two. It's a 6 minutes demo, so that it's very difficult. So that hey, Chiranjeev, go ahead with your demo.
Okay. Yeah. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you, Gana. Let me share my screen. Okay. Let's So, as Gyana have described that one of the most important section of that Microsoft Fabric. So, data activator is also known as Reflex, which is a observability tool for automating monitoring. It gives a no-code experience in Microsoft Fabric. So, we need to activate Microsoft data activator in Microsoft Fabric. So how you can go there? You have to go to that admin portal. So by clicking on that admin portal, you can see this interface here. So just expand this data activator. You have to enable this. You can apply this data activator to enter organization or maybe in a specific security group level. Okay, let's go back here. So here is Reflex. So what is Reflex? So Reflex hold all that information necessary to connect to the data or monitor any kind of condition or act on any kind of event. Usually you can create a Reflex uh, for any kind of business process, definitely for the separate business process. Okay. So once you click on this Reflex here, you can get this information interface here. So through this interface, you can connect to your data by clicking this get data. You will go there and you can see there is two options available here. One is Power BI. So in this Power BI section, you can also set a alert through your Power BI report also. Okay. Today, we are going to understand the default data we have in Microsoft Hub. Okay, let's connect that. Once you connect that, you will get all that component showing here. So what is trigger? So trigger is basically the condition you want to detect your object or act on a specific condition. And you can see there is other component called properties. So properties is mainly very much useful. So when you are creating multiple logic for across all that trigger we have here, so that is very much useful. And what is event here? So event is a observation about the state of that object. So as Gyana mentioned earlier, that we are currently showing here that one packet, medicine packet is go through the logistic stream. It will go to shift from one location to another location. So there have three event observed. So one event is shifted that package, one that package once in transit, and once delivery team is try to deliver that package. Okay. So I already created one object here. So you can create multiple trigger using this option by clicking new trigger here. Here you can see you have to choose that property. Let's choose one property here. And here you also have to provide that threshold limit or and condition. So let's choose is greater than 50. and you can provide that other parameters here, and you also can set that what could be that action has to take care if that data breach happened, and that threshold, it will cross that threshold limit. Let's go with one sample here that is already available. So medicine package is too warm. There is a one sample trigger we have. How it is go? So every item is actually considering as a object instance. Okay. And here in this section, you can set up your threshold limit. So here what exactly happened, the trigger, when that trigger act, that medicine packet temperature goes beyond 50 degree each time. So it will send you a alert, and you can set that alert mechanism from this section. And if those are all that component here are very much customized, you can do a customization here. Now going back to that Power BI section here. So in this Power BI section, you can also set a alert by clicking on here. You can choose all the parameter. You can set up the threshold limit here, and definitely you have to choose that uh, specific workspace, and you can create a reflex here using this interface. So once it is created, if you go to that workspace, you can see that reflex already created there. So I hope this provide you a understanding of data activator. I am giving back to Gyana.
Thanks, Chiranjeev.
Thank you.
All right.
Next slide. Pankaj, next slide.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me share my screen, please. There you go. Sorry.
Okay. I think, guys, we are already a little bit, 4 or 5 minutes behind. So that, I'm a cut short this, because we will have a Q&A session. So that is more fruitful, this, it's a webinar. So it's a now we talk about data observability. Now we want to talk about unified management and security, and you can do the security in a layered approach, structured approach experience with Microsoft Fabric. Security is derived from Active Directory. That's an Yantra, Microsoft Yantra we call it. We can use user identities, service principals, and managed identities, and using fabrics and AD, you can have a robust security principles, and these are all one lake workspaces, workspace B, folders, files, then Power BI dataset, lakehouse, data warehouse, and KXQL can be controlled by all the securities in different spaces. Next slide, please. Okay, just we want to touch base, people may see what are the fabric security overview. We have a bronze, silver, and gold. Everything will be covered by a uniform mechanism of a security. You have a tenant security when you install Microsoft Fabrics, workspace security, item security, compute specific security, shortcut security, authentication, private links, then data warehousing security, data engineering security, data science roles and permissions, and network security. Why we are talking this means not only we control with our governance tool purview about the data, but each step on each items in the fabrics, you can customize your security as per rules, and these can be created as a this policies, and then this can be attributed into your Entra policies, so that you can combine both in one place. This one lake security is coming up. It's not there yet, but in the meantime, you can have these securities and everything you can be done because of everything is working fine with us. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, Fabric integrated security and external sources. Right now, this is the way we are thinking we are doing it. And we have users groups, network location, applications, and devices. So enter conditional and access policies in inbound will to give it to one leg that will be controlled. And the inside, all securities I've done, we did it. Then for outbound, you can create an enterprise data gateway for other clouds, enterprise gateway for internally we other VNets also you can do that. You can communicate with this security can be set in the security wise, whereas outbound as whether it is in a data factory or other data bricks or a Snowflake non-fabric services, and in a way it data comes from custom databases in Azure VNet to these things where people have still you can get the data and you can have securities. Next slide, please. Okay, a few of the new features recently added to Microsoft, not few, that one is a smoothing for streamlined management. When we did it, we found it very extremely. We want to share it. When you are having a lot of jobs are running and there are some you have a 64 CUs central units and a capacity, but whereas 4 jobs came out big batch jobs, and what happens you cross the threshold, usually what happens your batch jobs fail, but it will not. This smoothing will streamline management, take care of things, distribute accordingly. It may hold a little bit of 2 or 3 batch jobs, and so that it gives a space so that you will not cross your 64 CUs, so that you were smoothing your total management and the workloads inside automatically, so that you will be applications will and data applications or pipelines batch jobs will not be affected. This is a wonderful feature which we did in a very useful. And Delta optimizer we order. This is another way is a compression, and it compresses optimizing technique in a Perkit format and enhances data storage, retrieval efficiency. And we order employs a combination of special sorting and regroup distribution, dictionary and decoding. Okay, but bin compaction and cleanup. And before we used to have a very big problem. When you get small files, your performance will nosedive. But automatically this V order detects the small, make it into one, and so that there is no need for manual make it these files. It's a big problem in the big data as well as data pipelines. And vacuum command will absolutely take out the rephrase, the small files will be taken out totally out, so that you don't get in any storage. That is very good. And Polaris, this is a wonderful distribution engine in Microsoft Fabrics, because the concept of distributed SQL storage and all is gone totally, and every storage is whether it is a data warehouse or serverless, everything will be stored your data in ADLS Gen 2. But at the same time, Polaris will separates compute and processing state. What does it mean? We had compute and storage is separated. That's okay, but that is stateful. But whereas with Polaris engine, compute and process state is stateless. So all your in-flight transactions and in-flight logs, in-flight data will be outside of your compute, so that in case you lose your one compute node, and other compute node will pick up this, so that you don't lose in-flight transactions. Another absolutely. And it also because of Polaris a new distribution engine with V code compaction, maybe 10 to 50 times the performance increase we have seen. It's depend upon your again different things, but we have seen a minimum of 10% performance increase. And semantic click, this is the greatest added they did it. It's a great expectations. It's a tool Python package, and when we install it all the semantic layers can be examined, what exactly data reliability, everything, and it tells you data quality, what is missing. It also gives you suggestions, what to do, so that it's a great tool for your semantic layer, semantic links for your semantic layer, that is data sets. Next slide, please. Okay, Ultimately, Microsoft Fabric integrated solutions as a service, and in a nutshell, ease of use, scalability, cost effectiveness, accessibility, security, and in it contains all this integrated and management, data science, one lake, real-time analytics, data warehouse, data engineering, data factory, Power BI, Purview, one security, data activator, Copilot. Okay, so that the next slide, please. And this is our Microsoft Fabric licensing infrastructure. Processing capacity is 1 CUs to 2048, 0.18 for CU hour, minimum 2 CUs, only $9 a day. Additional storage can be added, that is 2.03 GB month for US West. We have given example. Network, cross-region data transfers, charges, ingress charges for multi-clouds, shortcuts, will extra. Then individual licensing, this is the free access in a Fabric web. Everything is free for 60 days with the 64 CUs. But whereas if you don't have a Power BI, you can purchase a Pro Power BI with $10 a month. You can test it out how it works. For a premium, you want to do more users, more use cases. Per 20, you can do that. It's a great feature. Next slide, please.
Well, thanks, Nana. Appreciate everybody's time, and we want to respect people's schedules. Obviously, we're passionate about Fabric, and we really appreciate the partnership with Microsoft to be able to play with this for the last 6 or more months. But if anybody's interested, we have time available. It's been in high demand, but we do still provide a deep dive demo for some people that can talk to our sales team, and happy to present that. We also have a webinar coming up on December 14th about Purview and governance. So please take a look at that. And yes, to answer some of the questions, we will send out the webinar recording, so you will be able to see that, as well as, if you go to the next slide, there's also an ebook. So some of the team, Pankaj and has really worked on this ebook, and that'll be available. So there'll be a follow-up email from Nick or Abe, and you should see that, as well as you please take advantage of Microsoft Fabric's free 60-day trial. So with that, I think we'll conclude. I'm sorry we didn't get to some Q&A, but I'm happy to answer any questions over email if you still have any.
But can we answer some questions, and if people have some time?
Yeah, if
2
they
to
still
3
have time.
minutes. Yep.
Yeah, we'll take a few minutes.
Yep.
So there were 2 questions that came up. Most of them seem to be around the frequency of using the data pipelines and making sure that some of the transformations can be done. So maybe, I don't know if somebody wants to take that, how much of it needs to be scheduled versus real time, and what flexibility is that to make sure that data is refreshed in Power BI data sets.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yep. I think there are 2 things. One is in a real time versus one is a batch time. Right now you have direct lake connections to Power BI. You can create your real time operations through delta tables. And delta table, 2 types of delta tables we got, delta table and live data tables. Live data table is a connection between 2 delta tables. When you are sending data real time, it is going to send the data real time. This live tables will take it and keep on doing whatever that Gen 2 aggregations will do, so that any given time your published data, your gold data is in a real time. Number 1. Number 2, if you are loading for a batch job, even the batch jobs can be loaded in the refresh, there is once a day or once in 4 hours, you can do that. But with this Fabrics, because of continued delta lake format is implemented with the Parquet format, so that for real time as well as batch jobs, both can do different domains as depend upon them. If you want a real-time demo, what we have shown in a package, we need a real-time demo. We take the real-time, or a event hub, or IoTs, or anything it comes data, it can flow through. So both my real-time as well as historical data can be combined. We can show that in a Power BI report.
Thanks, Nana. Another one that came up, just in case anybody's aware, we'll send this link out. Microsoft has some great self-service training tools. It's end-to-end tutorials in Microsoft Fabric. It's on Microsoft Learn. It's a great site. Has I think 12 or 14 different scenarios to kind of walk through it. So really encourage people to look at that. Nana, was there any other questions that came in? I didn't see anything else.
I think another question I've seen is in the domains, can we create subdomains? Yes, answer is yes. in a domain, you can create subdomain. Let's take an example. If I create a sales domain, I can create a sales domain south in USA South, north, and east, and west. I can do that. Then still I can give privileges on those domains, and those people only want to look into that. They can look into that. Even domains like HR, subdomains can be done, and those people are interested in managers. They can look into their own employees. We can do that subdomains. That data can be done. Yes. Domains, and you can create subdomains.
Absolutely. So that is available now.
Yep. We can't hear you, Walt.
I was just trying to see. I didn't see any other notes come in, but I think there was some questions. Another person had sent me separately just about Power BI and trying to make sure about building reports on alerts. I don't know if you saw that. So if you're using, I guess you're using Activator, can you build a report about consolidate those alerts?
Yeah, can you show me the question to me?
Yeah, I just came out through the private chat, so we might have to follow up separately about that. So.
And we will address that question. We'll send them an answer, very clear answer to him.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for the time. Really appreciate the extra couple of minutes here. Hopefully it was helpful, and feel free to send any additional questions and tips. We'd be happy to consolidate those and send them out to the broader team. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.